G'day guys, the Drifta here, and down in the backyard. Got the 76 here and the rooftop tent. It's been about 12 months since we've had these rooftop tents, and I wanted to, we've been thinking about this for a little while, to do a video showing. Funny enough, I just saw Tyler advertise this morning on Instagram. He's doing the same thing, and 12 months on, so that's pretty cool. And he's had one of our very first ones too, so it'd be interesting to watch him. That's Tyler. Tyler Thompson's got a great YouTube channel as well, so have a look at Tyler's video and it'll also give you a bit different perspective. So yeah, I'm going to go through, I'll open it up, close it down, and just briefly talk about what I've done lots of little mods and things, and some upgrades are now standard, so we'll just go through and talk about everything. So yes, the 1.4 Desert Cruiser. We did have a full rack before, but you really want to put it just on 2 roof bars, okay? Because if it's a platform rack, for example, it just adds some extra weight and height, and all you really need is 2 roof bars. Now you can see here I've got 3. I've got the big 1.4. We put this extra bar on before we went to the Simpson Desert, and we did the Madigan line only a few months ago, and another reason was because I put the awning on the other side, so I'll show you that side in a sec. But you don't have to have 3, you can just have 2, okay? 2's enough, but I just wanted to have that extra one, you know, just for the extra strength. And it's not a lot of money to have an extra bar, just to give it extra support, so that's what I've done. By having the 3 bars, it's allowed me to move this front one forward and this rear one back, and you can see it used to be here. I've moved it back about 150-200 mils, so it's sort of evened it out a little bit. Yeah. What else we've done? You can see on here I've put a bit of an extra plate on the top to take the light bar, so that's working really good. We just formed up a little plate there. These are the ladder brackets. Okay, so we've basically modified the awning brackets to come up with this, and a couple of holes there, bolts on here, really easy. These are now available, and it's been great, and we'll show you why in a sec. Most of the tents now are coming with the overstand latches, okay? We've added the extra one. You can buy these separately, and I found the extra one in the middle is really good, because, you know, from the latches on either side, there's a long way between where there's no latch, and that just helps hold the middle closed, okay? The other thing I've found too, if you're working your way around to close the tent, we've got a lot of gear inside, okay? You'll start with this one here, then this one, and then that one, and you can work your way around type thing. So having the extra one in there helps sort of pull it all down when you're packing up. Come around this side here. Now we don't really have these spare at the moment, we're trying to get some in. I've put a 3rd support underneath there, right? And the reason I did it was because of the awning, okay? So before that, these bars were spaced about here. It was right here, and I've been able to move it out to here because I've got that awning. So I had a bit of flex there before. So these awnings are 16 kilos. You can see that now, there's no flex at all, but when this bar was in here, I was getting a little bit of flex. I'm not saying that was a problem, but I just wanted to make sure when I'm on the Simpson Desert and things like that, that we didn't have any failures. So that's what I've done. Now we'll make these extra bars available later on, and if you wanted to do what I've done, we've put the awning on, you can add that extra bar. Yeah, so we'll talk about the awning a little bit more in a sec. We'll go over that. It kind of jumps up here, and I'll show you what we've got on the roof. Yeah, so on the roof, that's what I love about this rooftop tent. You've got plenty of options for the roof. You've got the 150 watt solar panel up here. That's an EnerDrive glass panel. I've got the fix to the rails, and these roof rails come standard with the rooftop tent. And then we've got our RV carrier. So this is our Drifta RV carrier, alright? Aluminium bolts to the roof rails, and I've got these 2 RV bags. So we made these bags specially. I've got gear in both. If I want to take one bag down, I can take one. I did have an RV5 bag, but it was just not quite the right size, and if I wanted one bag down, not the other, was difficult. So 2 bags. These are on the website. They're an RV carrier bag, 12-ounce canvas, waterproof zip, handles, and I've also put this, you can see the webbing on the top here, and because I can now Look at that, I've got the thumb straps through there. Alright, so these thumb strap carabiners are great. Through there, and just do that. That's all you need to do. Alright, but these webbing, you can go through there to make sure nothing's going to fall off. So yeah, I've got a fair bit of gear up here, and this is gear I'm not using very often. I don't have a lot of space inside, and yeah, it's gear that I sort of want to carry, but I'm not using very often, so that can basically stay there. When I'm opening the tent, it all just stays in place. This 150 watt solar panel is great. It's putting out about 6 amps in good sun. It is actually on a hinge here on the top, and I can undo these nuts here, the wing nuts, so we can lift this up. So at the moment, if we open up here, we're going to get the afternoon sun, but if it's in the morning, the sun's from this way, we can actually hinge it upright, put a stay, and it'll get sun from both ways. So it works really good having it on the hinge. Alright, we'll jump down and open her up. One of the first things you want to make sure you do with a rooftop tent is when you pull up, you get your car level. So we stand back and look at it this way, and look at it front to back, and if we need to, just put up in some blocks. If we're in the sand, we might just dig a bit of a hole and drive in, so the high side just drive into a hole, or if it's soft dirt, we can dig a bit of a hole and drive into it. Otherwise, cut a couple of logs, or we carry a few blocks and drive up onto it. So, but you really want to make sure you get it level before you start doing anything else. If there's a if it's slightly uphill one side, we can change our heads. You just sort of want your head at the uphill side. So if it's a little bit out, you know, maybe an inch or two, then we can put our heads this side or that side. You know, you can do either. Right, the first thing is get the ladder. And actually Jimmy made these ladder brackets for us, and they've honestly been one of the best things. Well, the ladder treads was a really good upgrade. Can you see those ladder treads there? We sell these. These are a big job to get made. Okay, it's Australian aluminium, folded, and the holes, so we get these plasma cut. Fairly big job making them, but we sell those. You just rivet them on, and it makes a really nice surface. You can see that there, to get up and down. Makes a massive difference. Now normally what we have to do is lean that against there, get up top, set the tent up. When it's all up and ready, then we hook it back in again. So you sort of got to do it twice. And when you climbed up there, this is not so stable, you know. So what I can do before I've opened the tent at all, right, the very first thing I do, lock that ladder in there, and you know, it's fully secured. So that's just been working so good. Right, so undo the latches, and again, it's so good having that ladder secure. These are available. These are made in Australia as well, the brackets. Okay, so we can provide the kit that's got the stainless bolts, the nuts that go inside here, and these are about 4.5–5mm steel, and they're powder coated. So they're not super cheap. I think they're about $60 for 2 brackets, but they're mild steel to get them folded. They're plasma cut, but we're getting them powder coated. If it's not powder coated, if it's just painted, you know, it could rust and chip off, and they're no good. So powder coating's not cheap and quite difficult for a small bracket. So that's the Australian made bracket, and yeah, they work really good. Alright, lift it up. Inside here, right, just tucked inside the mattress, right there, is one of these, we call it a lockout pole. This one's a DRI 008. You get these on the website. It's just really a little eye-to-eye spreader, and I'm using that to help hold this up. Okay, those gas struts are standard, but there's a lot of weight that I've left up there, the solar panel and all my gear. So you know, it's my choice to leave all that gear up there, and that's why I just use this little lockout pole. You could actually use any sort of tent pole. In a short Oz tent pole would work quite well, but just this one with a slim line eye to eye works really good. So the first thing I'll do is just throw that on. I just stick it up into these top pieces, right, and that's just fully locked that out. One thing I've learned recently, and I know a few people are having trouble with it, when this is folded up, this awning or the fly, sorry, can get sort of a little bit lopsided and twisted up. So when you pull it out, it's not sitting quite right. Okay, you can see up in here, this piece here should be down, right, like that. So just make sure that it's sitting, you know, evenly. The other way you can tell is the center here is a little seam, it's about in the middle, okay? That way, once you set it up, if it's a bit tight, it can make it hard to do these up. Pull that one up. Okay, now that's gone up pretty well. I've been able to lift that up both sides without climbing into it. If this fly is not sitting evenly, it's sometimes hard to put that up. It's easy one side and a bit tricky the other side, and that's because the fly is not quite aligned. The other thing you can do on these bars here, you can see that I've put a bit of silicone spray on them, okay? Dry silicone spray, I've got it in the truck, I'll show you, but it makes a massive difference because when they're just dry, it'll get a little bit sticky and they can be a bit hard to pull up. So dry silicone spray works wonders on those. A little bit in there and it just makes it much easier. We've got these flaps, I'll pull those down at the end. I'll show you this little tip there. So I've lifted the top up. You're going to make sure you've got both bars, both spreader bars in the front here. Alright, you often see people with a tent set up and it's like this. You've got to make sure you pull that second spreader bar out nice and tight. And without that being tight, the fly is not going to be sitting right. It's always a good idea to do that zip back up again. Right? Often you forget and it's left open, but I've had, you know, sometimes I camped under a tree and I've had huntsman spiders, they fall on top of the tent. You don't want them to be crawling inside. Also there's a lot of dew that can sometimes form underneath here, and you don't want that dripping inside, so I always make sure close that up. Now once you've got the spreader bar there, these up, you've got to tighten these ones. Alright. You don't have to pull them super tight, but just make sure that you pull those down. Now what I've done here, there's been a few times at night when the wind's blowing and I've got this horrible little, you know, quite a loud noise, and it took me a long time to figure out what it was. And the wind blowing through this sometimes just vibrates it, you know, and it just gets a real drummy noise. Very hard to figure out what it is. And I was up one night going to the toilet and I had my headlight torch and I saw it, and then I realised what it was. So what I do for that, I just keep these bits of double-sided Velcro. Right, double-sided Velcro is brilliant. You can get it on our website. And I just keep a piece of that a little bit loosely around there. Right, it can slide up and down, you can still adjust it. And what that does is it stops that wind vibration coming through. If you're on the beach and setting up, you might find this horrible vibration noise, and that's all it is, this little strap just vibrating, and that'll fix it. Alright, so that's the tent. The brilliant thing about these tents is, you know, they're just such a quick setup. You can have almost anybody with a swag, any type of swag, you know, a dome swag for example, and this thing just smashes it, just sets up so quick and easy. Let's have a look inside. Yeah, so inside here, we'll sort of leave this, you know, you've got this big window here. So we'd like to leave that at least half open. It's good, the more ventilation you get through the better. If it's really hot in summertime, of course you'll have everything open, but even in winter time it's good to have this open a little bit at night time, normally like that, and you know, you still want a little bit of ventilation coming through. When we're packing up the tent, I always like to leave these open, the windows like that basically all the time, and because if all the windows are zipped up and you close the front door, it's very hard to close. The air is like a big balloon, it just takes a long time to collapse. So it's good to always, you don't want to leave it too open, but just leave a bit of a gap so the air can push out. This is a good little option here we've done. Looking for that. So I've got these little pockets, these are still sort of testing them. Little pockets we made up. I've got a small piece of fiberglass, very thin fiberglass here, just zip tied, and you can see there the shape of it. It's on an angle, so this is great just for your phone at night time. phone, torch, keys, and yeah, it's been great. I've just got to fix up a little bit more because this is hanging in the road here, the zip's hitting it, so I'm going to change them a little bit so it's hanging more like that, and then we'll make those available. But I find that so good because there is pockets up here, but when you're lying down in bed you can't reach these pockets. It's nice to just be able to reach those little pockets at the front there. This is a 12-month-old model, and we have asked for pockets down the bottom here now, so I'm pretty sure the new ones have pockets down here, but I like, you know, I don't like to have my phone say right next to my head, so I'll put the phone up the top here. Yeah, that's it I suppose. Now we keep this in here all the time. Right, we've got the upgrade mattress of course, and that's been great. Australian made foam. These are not cheap, but it's an Australian made foam, so Australian blown foam. It's made in Sydney, the cover's made in Sydney, and they're very bulky. It takes a huge amount of freight, you know, it's a full truckload just to get them up from Sydney to our place. So they're expensive for freight, but they're not cheap, but they're a great mattress, you know. So we do that. We've got this beautiful Australian woolen blanket, very soft wool, so we actually sleep on top of that. You know, it's not a sheet, but it's so comfy. This is a Waverley Mills blanket. We can't get them anymore, but you can still buy them. They're just so busy under these conditions where they just stopped wholesaling, but you can buy from Waverley Mills. Beautiful merino Aussie blankets. We sleep on top of that, and then the Stockton sleeping bag is the best sleeping bag ever. Alright, so we just use that basically. Now I keep a second one of these, just open it up like a doona. We keep a second one of these in the car. I wouldn't do that anymore, but during wintertime camping, you know, if it's freezing cold, we'll just have a second one in the car, and we can just throw that on top of us as well. Yeah, the thing with this shell, you know, a lot of the time too, if you pull up in a campsite, if you've got a wind, say you're on the beach and there's a wind blowing, you can often try to, you know, put the shell towards the wind. It's a really big advantage having this hard shell like that, because it's just so solid. Alright, it's no way it's going to blow over or shake, you know. Rooftop tents do cop the wind, and this hard shell is great because it protects a lot against the wind. The other big thing too, obviously, this is a side entry, and that's a big advantage of this one. If it's you know, a clamshell, which we used to make some at Drifta, a clamshell is mostly rear entry, okay, which would be entry from the back here, but most people are going to wing awnings these days, and it's very difficult to have a rear entry rooftop tent when you've got a wing awning, and that's why this side entry, there's not that many around that are side entry, which is great. And the other big advantage, you've got this huge awning that comes off this if you wanted to have more living space, so it just works really well that way. I'll grab our pillow bag and another blanket bag. Okay, I normally open this door first. The other thing that these ladder brackets do is it brings it out from the tent a little bit, and that makes a big difference. Doesn't look much, but that from there is out about 100 mil, and it means it's a lot easier to get in behind here, because got a lot of gear in there, and it just works so much better. For me, I've got a water bladder, and we do that there. So I've got a 60 litre water bladder, great spot here, wash your hands. Always wash my face when I packed up camp and things like that. So I've got water there, just on a little hook here. The other thing I've got here, which works great, we can put our boots on that. This is the bag here we carry. So that's got a couple of extra pillows, blankets and pillows. So these pillows, I've shown them before, but I love those. So Cedar Summit foam core pillow, and look at that, you just roll them up and we keep them in there. So basically what we can do is just throw all those up there. Got the blankets, pillows, everything we need, and put that up, pretty much set up. Yeah, so I'll quickly show you what I've done underneath. Right, so I've got our mattress and our base, and that's all I've done for underneath. Okay, you could use almost anything. We've done a bit of plywood. I've put a bit of tape around the outside so it doesn't have a sharp edge, and that's all it is. And all we're looking for is a bit of thickness to take up a bit of that space, and it's a very simple fix that I've been able to do myself. If anybody needed, see how that just pushes down a little bit, tightens up the floor, and it works really good. Now, I didn't have an issue with this to start with for about 8 months, but then as the tent, you know, I'd had it for a long time, big trip doing hot, you know, 110 k's an hour all the way out to Birdsville, and it became an issue. So it's really easy to fix with something like that. Something I haven't talked heaps about before, but let's have a look at the back here. One of the big advantages, like when we first got this tent, we're like, I was with Kaido, I had a look at it, and we're like, probably like a lot of people to start, it's like, it's got no floor in it, and it was just like a little bit of a weird sort of setup. We couldn't quite understand what's the purpose. It does make it lighter for sure, but you've got these bars across here and then that solid base inside. But what I've learned since, and it took a little while to figure it out, but these having that no floor means that it solves all the water issues. Now there's, you know, again we made for our dots probably about 50 or 60 clamshell rooftop tents, and what with the canvas on the rooftop tent on the ones we were making and a lot of other models, the canvas comes down to a flange and it's got to come on the outside, and then you've got to come down and seal over the top of that. So you've got to get the water from here up and over this here. That's not too bad, but in the corner here, in this section here, right, when you're trying to get the canvas over the top of this seal so the water hits and runs over, very difficult in this area here. And the only reason I know that is because we built so many of them, and it was just very hard to waterproof this section here. You know, waterproof, you know, on a normal bit of rain is one thing, but then if it's driving rain, it was very difficult. The really clever thing with this tent is it's like basically you could say it's a dome tent inside a shell, but it's all contained with its own floor. So any rain hits here, it's just going to run down and straight out the bottom, and that's basically solves all the water issues. So it's really clever. I'm not sure if they designed it like that specifically for that reason, but it's a consequence of this no floor system. It's eliminated all the water issues, and I'd say that's probably, most people wouldn't even think about that or realise, but I'd say it's one of the biggest advantages of this tent with no floor. You can see there, water hits, runs down, it just comes straight out. The other thing too, if you've got this tent down, that's folded up, you're driving along, if you did happen, for example, to get a little bit of water through, again, it's just going to run straight out. If you've got that normally in other style rooftop tents like the ones we used to make, any water gets inside, it stays inside, and that's a real issue. So while we're on the subject of that as well, you know, if you're camping and a lot of the time it's dewy at night and you get up in the morning, and I'd say almost most times there's dew on the top of the tent and inside the tent. Now obviously, you know, you can't wait till 10 o'clock and wait till that dew's sort of dry. You've often got to just sort of, I got a little towel, I wipe it down best I can, but you have to fold it up. There's obviously got some moisture inside. Now if you'd zipped all, once you got it down, you can zip the windows up. None of that moisture is going to get inside, okay? But the outside of the tent, inside the shell, is still damp, and even you'll get some moisture inside the tent still, just from your own breathing and stuff. So if you've been away camping for the weekend, each night if you're camping set up, you know, pop your tent up, you can let it air out in the afternoon. But if you come home from being away, it's really important to set that tent up and give it a good day to dry before you store it, because otherwise, you know, there is cases where you're going to get some mold and mildew inside, and it's because, you know, you had dew and you packed it up wet, and that's going to obviously happen. So I'd say it's really important when you get home from any camping weekend, even if you don't think there's that much moisture, just pop it up, let it air out just for even a couple of hours, and pack it down. Make sure you pack it away dry, just like a sleeping bag or any other bit of camping equipment. You know, you've got to make sure you pack it away storage. If you're storing it for a long time, you've got to make sure it's bone dry. Alright, the other good thing too is with this tent design, if you know, you have, you know, a broken zipper or a rip or something, you know, for any reason, we can unclip this tent. You know, the whole tent can come out in 5 minutes, and you know, if you broke a zip, you could literally send it back to us and we could re-sew a zip in there. The other ones, you know, like the ones we used to make, it's a massive job, a huge job to remove the tent, but these are very simple to remove. Pull your bedding out and the mattress, you can unclip this and pull it out, really simple. So that's another big advantage of this sort of you know, tent within a shell design. Right, so I just finished and packed this up just so I can show you both ways. Yeah, I've got the bag with all the spare bedding, so the extra blankets and the pillows. Right, so I've got plenty of pillows in there, spare blankets, and yeah, so to fold up, we want to undo those two spreaders, zip that back up again, make sure the two side windows are just open a little bit so some air can get through. And I've fully zipped up that, but I've also got this open a little bit here as well. The good thing with this tent, you know, there's a few moving parts, alright, but Cotto's, he's got all the parts available, right? So if you do happen to break this center spreader bar, for example, the clip, we've broken a couple of those, different things, you know, we've got all the parts available. There's nothing we can't fix or repair. If you did happen to accidentally tear something, you know, a stick come down or whatever reason you tore something, we got, of course, 25 ladies sewing, a big canvas shop, so we can repair and fix anything, and we've got all the parts as well. So yeah, right, take that down, load stuff into there. You can see the advantage of having this ladder also when you pack up, where it's fully locked in there. Right, pull that in there, pull the ends in. You can see that slowly come down, that's just really air getting out, okay? Hose away. And you can see there where I can leave the ladder in place, alright, right till the end. The other thing, I'll show you that silicone spray. Well, it's honestly probably one of the handiest things that you can buy. CRC, this is one of the secrets with our drawers as well. Silicone spray, dry electrical silicone spray. It lasts for a long time, right? But you could give that a bit of a spray on those ladder treads as well. If you've got a bit of, you know, just getting a little bit sticky, right, makes a huge difference. And also on these little front spreader bars here. You've got Drifta drawers as well, of course, it works awesome. And also, because it's dry, alright, it works great on zips. It's a brilliant stuff to carry. Alright, so just pack this up. We've got our Aussie made ladder bag. Righto, so that's it. Yeah, so it's been 12 months on. First time I've had a rooftop tent, vehicle base. You've seen this vehicle on videos for well over 10 years. Never had a rooftop tent on top. Yeah, so it's been brilliant for us. A little bit, obviously, without the trailer. We're smaller, lighter, more nimble. We can go a lot other places. Places we've been going recently is places we wouldn't sort of go if we had the trailer. You know, obviously we're a lot less space. There's not a lot of space in the back of the 76. Taking the back seat out made a big difference. But you know, space is a premium when you're just vehicle-based camping. So it's really important to have you know, small and light products, and a lot of our stuff we're designing, you know, allows for that. But we're pretty much, this truck here ready to go now. If I get down here just our personal bags, throw in the back, a bag for food, we could go to Northern Territory right now if we wanted to. Like, it's ready to go. I've got everything there, my water bladder, everything in that truck is ready to go for weekend camp at Barrington Tops or go around Australia, you know, always ready. So I love that about it. And you know, rooftop tent camping is awesome. Having that tent up high off the ground, you know, not on your hands and knees rolling up a Oz tent that's, you know, wet and dewy underneath, and on your swag, stuff like that. So I love the this rooftop tent camping, you know. Alright guys, so there's basically a full 12-month review. We've camped in that time, you know, I'd say well over a month. We've been, well, more than that, maybe a month and a half, 2 months. We've done Lightning Ridge trip twice. We've been Simpson Desert, 6,000 k's around there. We've been all over the place. We've been high country. So I've done plenty of testing, like we always do, me and Kaito, with all our products. We test them a lot, and we're always working to improve the best we can on the products as well. So 12 months on, still working perfect. Very happy with it, and you know, it's just a great way of camping with this rooftop tent. So there's a bit of a 12-month on from our Wildlands Desert Cruiser rooftop tent. Thanks guys. Do you want to do a couple of stills?